Hi, everybody. I'm Becky. I'm an alcoholic, and I've been through the process with a Big Book Step Study sponsor, a loving God, meetings like this, practicing steps 10, 11, and 12. Not always right, but to the best of my ability. And I'm actively working on my amends. And thank you, Loretta, for asking me. It's always a privilege to be able to speak. I'll tell you a little bit about my background before I go into the step. I'm not going to go into a big long thing, because when I get a chance to talk about myself, possibilities are endless, I was, I think, an alcoholic from when I was in my childhood. I started with the substances when I was 12, thought that was the greatest thing in the world and wanted to do that for the rest of my life. It felt so good to be out of myself. It felt so good to actually belong. I felt like I belonged with all these people that, drank and did drugs with me. I can remember sitting around a room for hours at a time not talking because we were just so high, and, that was great, yeah. I think about it now and I go, oh my God, But, being an alcoholic and not fitting in, that was such a part of my growing up and such a part of most of my life in trying to fit in. So in trying to fit in, I would agree with whatever somebody said when they were saying it to me at the time. And then I could go to the next person and agree with them even though it was completely different. And I would have people tell me that they hated that about me. I would have people tell me that they hated me, that they didn't ever want to talk to me. And I had one girl tell me that I made her sick. And that I wanted her to be my friend. And every time I reached out to her, she was more abrasive and abusive. But I thought that's the way it was supposed to work, because when you grow up with that in your house. So I can remember having a crush on a guy in high school and him telling me, I don't like you because you talk too loud. And I went around whispering for weeks and saying to my friends, am I talking too loud? And I can remember, and I shared this at a meeting a couple weeks ago, but it was such a profound effect on me. When I was about 12 or 13, my mother worked all day and she was in property management, so she was home, but I would wander around the neighborhood and the streets, and I sometimes wonder now when my mother even cared where I was, or did she know? I don't remember her even, asking. But there was a house down the street, and I remember 3 teenagers lived there. The girls were a couple years older than me, and their brother was maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, and I thought he was good looking because he had beautiful hair. He had hair down to his shoulder. In the 70s, it was all about the hair. And he would talk about his hair. And he would talk about the vitamins that he would take for his hair, and I would sit in his kitchen and agree with everything he said. No idea what he was talking about. And one of his sisters said to me, I don't even like you. You don't even have your own mind. You agree with anybody that's talking. You don't even have your own opinions on anything. So I went to leave that day, and I would go over to that house every day, even though they didn't like me, and I just wanted to fit in. I wanted somewhere to go, and he had, the brother had it was a big backyard. It was in the desert, so it was all dirt, and in the middle he had this pole, and he would take a whip and he would aim at that pole, and that's what he did, practice that. So when I went outside through the back door, he tried to hit me with the whip. And I was crawling along the edge of the fence, and he was hitting me with the whip and hitting me with the whip. And I finally got away, and I felt just this horror and fear. And when I went home and my mother was there, I never told her. I never told anyone. And I remember that as being a pivotal part of beginning to keep everything inside. And all those things that happen afterwards and through the years, just stuff them inside, stuff them inside. So the substances and the alcohol helped me to deal with all of that. I realize that now, having done my 4th and 5th step. But, and so that was my life. I was out there for 40 years of my life. And this last time, when I came out of detox, and I was still using, even though I was looking at jail time, but I would say to myself, I haven't been in front of the judge yet, so they're not going to order any drug tests now, so I can use. Because when I go in front of the judge, I'm going to have a little bit of a time. So, and I had it all figured out in my mind. That's how sick I was. And when everything finally came to a head and I had no choice, I was backed up against the wall. I had got caught stealing payments from my friend's mother who was 80. And my husband told me to get out. I attempted suicide and I almost succeeded. So laying in the cardiac ICU, one person came to see me, and she was a member of, I had gone to another fellowship for my first year of recovery, and she was from that fellowship, and she sat with me every day, and I remember that. And I just laid there and just thought about my life and thought, is this where I end up, I didn't want anyone in my family to know where I was in the hospital. No one knew. My daughter didn't know. The only person that knew was my husband, and this woman from NA, and of course God. God knew I was there, And so I went home, and I decided that I had to do something different this time. What was I going to do different that I had never done before? And what I was going to do was I was going to talk to my sponsor, and I was going to do whatever she told me to do. So she told me I had to go to Big Book Step Study, and I went, oh no, those people are all crazy. So I said to her, all right, where is this meeting? A very negative tone of voice, and she was very kind and told me where the meeting was. And I went. Now, I was just maybe a week out of the hospital. I was very still. My body was broken. My mind was sick and broken. And I went to this Big Book Step Study, and I walked in and sat down, and they were on step 1. And I heard this woman speak, and I thought, they went around the room, and I heard people speak, but I could only see the back of their heads because we were all sitting like you're sitting now. But I heard their voices, and I heard something different in them. And it touched me, and I thought to myself, I have a chance. If I do this, I have a chance. So I called my sponsor after, and I said, when can I start writing? And she just said, okay, let's go. I want you to go to another Big Book Step Study meeting. I want you to go to 2 a week. And when you finish 2 rotations of each of those meetings, then we can start reading. Okay, so I did that, and slowly my life began to change. I had I had not gone through the process. I had not really known what the solution was, but 32 days into my sobriety, I had to put my kitty down. And he was my beloved cat. He had been my mother's cat, and I loved him very much. And he was sick for a few days before I took him to the vet. I knew I was going to have to put him down, and I brought him, and the vet came in the room, and he said, I can give him a tranquilizer, and you can have 15 minutes together. So he did that, and I sat with the cat, And I was very sad, but I wanted him to know I was there, and I said, I was just so grateful that the last thing he was gonna see was my face, because I had him for 15 years, and I didn't want him to be afraid. So when the vet came in to give the final injection, he left the room and my kitty had his last breath, and at that time, in my mind's eye, I saw my mother. And my mother had been passed away 3 years, and this cat had been her kitty, and she loved this kitty. And I saw my mother walking, and she had this outfit with red pants with a red and white vest and a white blouse she used to wear a lot, and she'd stand in the door with her hands behind her and look out the window and tell me that it was snowing potato chips, and then we had the coldest sun in the world. And I saw her, and then I felt a presence, and I felt my little kitty go, I felt him go, almost I could say I felt him go to heaven, and it was very strong. And when I closed my eyes, there he was with my mother, and they were walking away. Now, I get chills when I talk about this because it was very real. And people can say, oh, she's crazy. Well, yeah, I am crazy. But I know this happened. And at that moment, I knew there was a God. And I have been an atheist my whole life. I knew there was a God. I felt his presence. And you could never shake me of that ever. My feeling and belief in God, my higher power, is so strong and grounded because he gave me exactly what I needed when I needed it. And he gave me the strength to go on with this process and to start reading and to take the 3rd step prayer and to do the 4th step, which, is writing a lot of painful things. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. My sponsor read and I wrote some more. And it took me 14 months. Now, I could not have done that without the belief in God that I had. So, through the process, I had many spiritual experiences, feelings, all the things that go with it. And when I did my 5th, in 6 and 7, God was there so strong. When I walked away from doing my 5th and went to spend some time alone with God, I felt his presence so strongly that it's truly, truly amazing. And, excuse me. So, coming to the action steps, 10, 11, and 12. And step 10, go through our day and were we wrong, promptly admitted it. No, not always. Carefully watch for selfishness, self-pity, and all those other bad things. And yeah, I can do that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let go of that resentment right away and ask God to remove it. Because sometimes I want to just stay in that resentment because it's so strong and so bad that I revert back to my old behaviors. And that happened to me just a couple of days ago, and I went in my bedroom and I said, please, God, help me. I was so deep into this resentment, and then all of a sudden, he gave me what I needed. The person that I had the resentment against came, and we talked it out. We worked it out together, and it was gone. So I prayed for help, and God gave me the help I needed. So it's all true. It's all true what it says in this book. So we have ceased fighting anything or anyone. We have to. Absolutely, I can't fight. I can't fight. I can't come to the fights that I'm invited to. This process has taught me that. Sometimes I want to get into it, sometimes I might. My son-in-law irritated me the other night, and I said to him, if you don't shut up, I'm going to go over there and punch you in the face. How nice. Isn't that sweet? So I felt bad afterwards, and I'm going to make an amends to him. And, of course, at first it was his fault because he was, needling. He has a way of needling, and it was all his fault. But really it wasn't. It was I should have never said that, and that was wrong. And, but see, this process has taught me to recognize that. And go, whoa, wait a minute, that's wrong. It doesn't always stop me from doing those things, but it helps me to recognize them, and that's the work. That's the work. So, and as far as it says here, this is step 10, but it goes into 11 for me. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe, and protection. We have not even sworn off. When it comes to alcohol, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I get a thought once in a while. I've had a couple of drug dreams lately, which really, they shake me up when I'm woken up. And I spoke to someone in a meeting the other day about that, and he went, don't let it bother you. It's not a big deal, it'll pass. I thought, oh yeah, I guess he's right, but they do still startle me. And so step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on the matter of prayer. It works if we really have the proper attitude and work at it. Absolutely. If I start my day with prayer and meditation, everything goes better. I start off a little calmer, a little more centered with God than I would be if I didn't. So therefore, I can handle things as they come along and keep my behaviors in check. And when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Most times, yes. Most times, yes. And what really kills me is I'll say, did I do anything wrong today? No. And then I think to myself, okay, that can't be right, because then you would be perfect. And that's not the way it goes. And I've got to think, it makes me think harder and close my eyes and meditate and go back on the day. Oh yeah, I could have done this better. We're thinking of ourselves most of the time. Yeah, I like to think about myself a lot. It's all about me. But it's, then I have to remember, no, it's really not. Ask for God's permission and awakening. Think about the 24 hours ahead. Wow, that's a tall order, for me, because I don't know what the day is going to bring. I know I'm going to go to work maybe on that day, and I know I'm going to have to run some errands, but I don't think that's what they mean by this. So, what can I do for others? How can I help? Okay, well, I can help my stepdaughter today when I get to work and she's frantic at her business and she needs my help, so I can stay calm and I can offer her that calmness and support. And no matter what she says, I can say, I can help you. And even though I don't want to work there, I still do, because she needs me. So that takes me out of myself. And how many years did I spend not there for her, and the harm that I caused with my actions with alcohol and drugs? A lot of years. So I can't just wipe it out in 2 or 3 or 4. I don't know how long it might be my lifetime. It might take a lifetime. But I'm willing right now to tell you that I'm willing to do that most days. We ask God for inspiration, intuitive thought or decision, relax and take it easy, don't struggle. And also, what really kills me is we might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. I can remember smoking pot and coming up with these great ideas. They were never good. But I thought they were great, and that's what what I always think about when I see this. Wow, this is a great idea. And so we come to rely on the inspiration that God gives us. So this really does make me think, okay, what does God want me to do today? What can I do better? What does He have in mind for me today? Well, He doesn't always tell me, so I open my eyes and I say, thank you, God, and I go about my day. And that we be given whatever we need to take care of any problems during the day, freedom from self-will, and make no requests for ourselves. Self-will is bad, and I don't want anything to do with it. And I try to stay away from it. And with this process, I can succeed for the most part. And I've always been afraid to pray for myself, because I remember in church they would say, hello. Wow. Okay. They don't ask, the church they would say to me, you don't ever ask anything for yourself because God will punish you. So that's still like imprinted on my mind, but I don't ask for anything for myself because this book tells me not to. And as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful. We remind ourselves that we are no longer running the show. Hooray. Hooray, 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 because that is so much easier than for me to run the show, because that was so tiring. This one had to do that, this one had to this and that, and this had to go that way, and I got to call this one, and this, oh my God. So that's thy will be done. Thy will be done. That's so awesome. And it does work, and it does say here, it works, it really does. I can tell you from my experience that this works. And we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. Oh, such a few pages, but so powerful, and so many things in this step 11 to help us get through our day and our life with God, and not harm anyone, and help other people. I love that. If I can get through the day doing these things, then I've had a good day. You know, and I can look back and see what I did wrong. And it's a better way to live. It's better than the way I lived for those 40 years of my life. And I'll continue to practice these steps to the best of my ability. And I thank God that I'm here today to talk to all of you. And thank you all for listening. Thank you. Thank you.